credibility first through leveraging a platform that already has some, in terms of we handle their credit card data very carefully. We're totally encrypted for all of the credit card information, etc. We have a whole series of successful projects already. People can check out the site and really understand what's going on, is the first step. But then second, in terms of individual credibility, is leveraging that initial first tier network to sort of build off of. And then your distant friends and friends of friends, and then hopefully extended to strangers and the internet at large as you go viral, will trust you already because they see that so many other people already have social proof.
But don't also be afraid to be mindful about asking people that you trust to post for you, but also be clear that if it's your dad and everyone knows it's your dad, that may not be as trustworthy as you think, or as exciting to somebody. They're like, well, of course your dad likes it. You have a question?
Yes, how would you gauge a good goal or a realistic goal in raising money? If like 10,000 may be too much or something like what would be a good way of gauging the relationship of your network to how much money you think might be a realistic way to raise, so you don't overwhelm yourself or disappoint yourself, but also challenge yourself?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, specifically with sites that are all or nothing, like ours, there are a couple of different ways to leverage the fact that it's all or nothing. So setting a financial goal can be purposefully setting it high and test marketing the idea. Listen, this thing is going to cost me 10 grand to do, and if I don't raise every dime of that 10 grand, then I'm not going to do it, right? You can also set the goal artificially low. I need 10 grand to do this thing, but I'm only going to shoot to raise 5 because I'm committed to completing the project one way or the other, and I'm ready to put in the other 5, right? So you can essentially, in an extreme scenario, you could set the goal as $1, right? I need to raise $5,000 to complete this thing. I'm committed to it one way or the other. I'll pay the 5 grand if nobody contributes. I'm doing this. But I set my financial goal at $1. Essentially, you're going to keep everything that you raise.
Jed, is there like a rule of thumb though? So for example, like you could probably go through Rolodex and say, okay, this person's going to give me $250 maybe, and this person's going to give me 100. But is there like a random percentage you could imagine, or are there any rules?
I mean, it's tough to really generalize a whole lot because everybody's network is so different. No, but in terms of setting a goal for, in terms of estimating how much money you can successfully raise, my suggestion is to go through your Rolodex and separate it into 2 or 3 categories. And that first category is this first tier network, people you can really count on. And without putting a dollar amount next to each person's name.
Put a dollar amount next to each person's name.
I mean,
why not?
You certainly can. You certainly can. Whether or not that dollar amount is going to be accurate is a real wild card. I put $20 next to somebody's name and they gave me $300. So, there are wonderful things that happen, and then there's that, my grandmother, who I was hoping for a big contribution from, didn't actually follow the link. Maybe she didn't check her email, or maybe she dropped out. I don't know. So I feel like that gets inaccurate at some point, but it's worth a shot in terms of trying to estimate. So there's that first tier group in your Rolodex, people you can really count on, and then there's sort of everybody else. You may be able to break it down into 2 sort of other groups, the people you think you can that are still close to you, and then the people that you're going to email anyway because, hey, they're connections and worth a shot. But then it's about different ways to actually contact all of those people. We think the rule of thumb generally for that first tier group is to contact them each individually. Call, don't email. Yeah, personalize it. Call, tell them what you're up to, prep them beforehand, before you actually launch the project. Call them, tell them what you're going to be doing next week. It's going to go live next week. Please, I'll send you an email then. Follow the link, get involved. I'd really appreciate your support. Then once you have that group sort of anchored, you move on to the next group, and build off of your success already.
Sorry. I just wanted to add to that and say one really helpful thing can be to tell people what you're going to be spending the money on. So, you know, if you set a goal of $5,000, rather than just saying I need $5,000 to make this work, you actually want to tell them, you know, $1,000 is going to go towards the purchase of a camera, and you know, $2,000 is going to go to pay the editor or the but be transparent, because that way, you know, you can even do that in your giving levels. You can put in your giving levels, you know, this $50 is going to pay for X, and you're going to get this in exchange, to really bring it home that, you know, they're going to actually be paying for something specific.
Although if you do that, be mindful that like, I remember I had a band person who's like, I'm going to hire a whole orchestra. And I just kept thinking, well, I don't really want to pay for that. So be clear that there may be people that don't think that what you want to do is worth the money. So maybe test market that a little bit.
Yeah, just a couple, if you're going to do that, the more specific, the better. If you priced it out and the film cost $37, write 37, not 40. Because it shows people that you actually did the research and know exactly what it looks like. It makes it that much more clear. I always do, I call it the 1 to 6 model. I figure out how much what would I look at that list of people, how much would I ask them for? That's the 6 times what I need. You know, divide by 3 to the 2 is like what they might do, and 1, so 1/6 of what I asked for is what I actually have to have. So if I need $100,000, I should be asking for $600,000. And I'm maybe going to get closer to 200. So when you're kind of thinking, and that's generally for bigger budgets, it's also, I think you need to be more and more attention the bigger number you ask for. If you're going for 60 grand, you want to spend a lot more time thinking about who do you have who's going to be a donor than if you're going for $500. So the more you're looking at it, kind of, I think it is good. Write down the number that you're going to. How much would you feel comfortable asking your mother for? How much would you feel comfortable asking your brother for, your roommate, your ex-girlfriend or boyfriend? How much would you have to pay them? The other thing is, the bigger the campaign, I think it's actually worthwhile, just like you do in a kind of a traditional fundraising, to think about a silent phase. That week before you're going live, actually ask the people you think are the most likely, or especially if there's some of the, you know, if you've got 10 people you think might give you $1,000, and you ask all 10 and all say no, you probably would want to reevaluate before you go live. So the bigger the campaign, make some of that, you know, show them the website that's getting ready to launch next week, and ask them, would you support? And if they say yes, then you have a pledge that even on your list, they won't make the gift until it goes live, but you'll know if you're going to get close, or if you had 10 people and they're all saying no, you need to rethink your number before you launch it.
Oh, do you want to answer?
I was just going to say, when we did the 10,000, we thought that seemed like a lot, but at the end, it seemed like we could have done 15, 20, you know, like, we felt like we had momentum to go even further, so always, you know, don't second guess yourself, like, have a lot of confidence in what you think you can do.
I have a question about all-in crowdfunding sites. I'm wondering if the money that donors give is pledged or actually donated, because if you don't meet your goal, what happens to the money? Do you give it back?
Depends on the website. Kickstarter doesn't charge the card until the campaign is successful, and Rocket Hub already described the card is charged, but it's held in a escrow account, so that the money is refunded if the donor doesn't want it to go to a different project if it's not successful, and then if they want it to go to a different project, they can designate that.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. And the reason that we decided to do that is, first of all, there's the possibility that billing information changes between, you know, in a 3-month period or a 2-month period. What happens if my credit card is stolen, I cancel the card, the pledge doesn't go through at the end, so there's the possibility of that, certainly. A small percentage, but it exists. And then, again, if your initial project is unsuccessful for whatever reason, you know, I was shooting to raise $50,000, I raised 25. Fantastic, you can probably do a lot with 25, so how about in the last day of your project, you reach out to all of your contributors and say, hey, we didn't make it this time, but I'm going to post an altered project. with an adjusted goal, and we're paring down. We're not going to hire the full orchestra. We're going to do it with a 5-piece band, and it's going to be great. So then it's just easier for people to stay involved rather than having to enter all of their credit card information again. It lowers that secondary hump in order to recontribute.
And remember too that when you're doing your budgets for this, remember that you have to put the admin fees in, so that you're going to be paying 6-10% of the money that you're raising is actually not ever coming to you. You're next. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just wondering about in-kind donations, and for instance, at Carrier Pigeon, you had the gallery donated and the wine donated, and it strikes me that this kind of combination of reaching a goal with 2 different methods, that's important. So if you don't have the fiscal sponsor, you can't really do the in-kind donation, right? That way of doing it. So I'm just trying to figure out all these, how do you put all this together? Because it strikes me that having an event, then you've got something where you can bring in the press, and the press can have links so that people can donate if they can't attend. And that's sort of a way to get a lot more bang for the time period that you're working.
That's definitely like a direction we're going. We just got Stephen Fredericks, who I mentioned before, is the founder of the New York Society of Veterans, and he actually releases press releases for us now. We've had like 7 released in the last 2 months. And that's just another way to get publicity, to get to expand our network and have people help us raise funds.
But when you have the press, you need to give them something specific that you are a fundraising goal that they can link to. Otherwise, you're missing that opportunity. So you got to have it all pretty well organized.
Yeah,
right?
And I feel like that's one of the flaws we have right now. Is we sort of started this thing, it's snowballed, and we didn't really expect how it's progressing. Now we're working on our 6th issue, because we want to do a quarterly magazine, and so we're trying to get all our issues ahead. We're dealing with a lot of financial things and the press, and yeah, it's definitely something to consider, is to make sure you have a link to your website that's up and running. These are a lot of things we don't even have our website quite finished, and we're trying to get money, and we just made an LLC, and we're doing a nonprofit, I think.
We're going to be connected to Steve Fredericks Foundation, so we're going to go through him as our nonprofit.
But it is probably a little bit easier psychologically if you try to do that in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would strongly recommend that.
I mean, remember, this, just because it's online doesn't mean it's not serious. If you're asking people for money, if you're going to ask people to pay you to do something, they deserve the respect of you having thought it through diligently, right? I mean, I think that's a fair exchange. That's a trade and not aid. And if you want to continue to build their credibility, what you want to deliver is success, right? You want to say, okay, you're going to come in, you're going to be involved in this thing, and you want them to be like, that was awesome. Can't wait for it to happen again, as opposed to, wow, they don't have a website up? That's not the moment you want to have, right? That's just a bad branding moment. So, be serious about it.
We, like I said, we don't have a website, but if anyone was to look at the dummy that we just got back from Korea, it's the most beautiful archival piece of art, in literature. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's no other magazine like it for Carrier Pigeons. So. We don't have a website. We'll have
1st.
A week. So
October 1st, everybody.
Yeah, sort of going off of that, I have a small theater company. We have a campaign on Indiegogo right now. We're sponsored through Fractured Atlas. And we're really gearing our campaign towards the first production of our season. Mm-hmm. But we have other productions planned after that. We have residencies, and we obviously want to build sustainability. So I was wondering what any of you can say for using this very time-constricted fundraising tool to then build a sustainable donor base and sustainable fans and.
I mean,
Planning.
Yeah, in terms of repeatability in one of our platforms, the biggest thing, in my opinion, in order to keep it fresh and keep people coming